Well, good morning. My eyes look a little red. They probably do because, I got to bed about 2:30 to 3 o'clock, which is really only about 3 hours ago. But I'm up again just for you. All three of you who might be watching right now. And I'm from the road again because we left last Thursday to go to Colorado for a marriage conference called Marriage Matters Hope Conference, where Karen and I had a chance to share our story about what God's been doing in our life since I was able to break free from the addiction that controlled my life for so long. One of the things that I noticed about the people at the conference, the people who hosted the conference, other couples who participated in the conference as speakers and teachers and trainers, was that we all have a story. But we all also have, in our marriages, a purpose together. Not just something that I do and my wife follows me around, or something that she does and I carry her bags, but something that together we do for others. And I'm wondering if you have discovered the purpose for your marriage. Now, I know that some of you watching are not yet married, or maybe you were, and for whatever reason, right now you're not. I think the question still applies. If, when you're partnered with someone else, does your life have a meaning beyond your own happiness? Is there something in this life, in this gap between birth and death, the dash on the headstone, is there something that you're meant to accomplish? Is there a chance that that something you're meant to accomplish can't be done alone? And that the team that you're intended to accomplish it with is your spouse? See, there are a lot of marriages that fail, that fall apart. I was listening to a couple just the other day. In fact, she said, right now we're separated. And I said, well, what was the cause of the separation? She said, well, there are several causes. She said, but here's the reality. Our youngest one went off to college, and we looked across the table at each other and went, who are you? They met and married in less than 4 months' time. They both had kids when they met. They both had kids before they married from previous marriages. And now that the kids, which were the purpose for their being together in so many ways, have gone on to other things, such as the circle of life, they can't find a reason to stay together. They have no purpose in their marriage besides the kids. I hope that's not the case for you. And again, whether you're not yet married, never been married, or you're single again for whatever reason, widowed or divorced, when you're in that couple relationship, having a purpose that's bigger than you, having a purpose that you can look at and say, this is what we do together, is so powerful. It's also a driving force for your own unification, for the two of you together to say, we'll turn our backs against the enemy to fight together for this thing. We will turn our backs to each other so that the enemy can't get to our backs. I heard a little ditty the other day. I don't know if it's a Aesop's fable or a parable or a reality of illustration, but it was a great illustration. And the speaker simply said, wildebeest in the forest, wildebeest, are they in the forest? In the jungles, in the deserts of Africa, wherever wildebeests might hang out. Sonic. When wildebeests hang out at Sonic and the lion comes, they all turn tail to tail. And no matter which way the lion attacks, whether there's 3 or 4 or 2, whichever way the lion attacks, he always gets the horns of a wildebeest. But when the wildebeest gets arrogant and goes off on his own, there's always a backside that's vulnerable? Are you the backside of a wildebeest? Do you find yourself wandering off from the protection of the crowd where someone else is watching your back? Whether it's accountability partners, or it's friends, or it's family members, or it's your spouse? Do you guard each other's back? Do you look out for each other because you know that together you have a purpose? You have a reason for being on this earth, in this season, in this day and time. Now, I'm going to tell you, and this is going to sound really weird, I think living for your own happiness is the ultimate selfishness. I really believe that. That living for your own happiness makes it so much about you that you couldn't be used to bless someone else's life if you tried. Because if you're asking the question, what's in it for me? Then what's in it for anybody else doesn't matter. And what you were destined to do, what you were called to do, what you were made to do, what you were gifted to do, the gifts that are in you to give to someone else are never going to come out if they're always used for you. My friend Mike Arnold made a mention one time as we were talking about gifts and being rewarded for the gifts that God's given you, whether you get paid for them or you do them as a ministry or you do them in some other way. The gifts that you've been given are like the birthday party when you were 6 or 8 years old, when you went to a friend's birthday party and you would say, Mom, I have to take a gift for little Johnny or little Susie because it's not nice to show up at their birthday party with nothing. And so you would go to the store and pick out a gift, and inevitably, we all did it. At 7 or 8 or 9 years old, we're all very self-centered little people. And we would pick out the gift that we wanted to have. I know it was really hard when I went to girls' birthday parties to buy a gift for a girl, because I had no idea what a girl would want. I just knew what I wanted. And inevitably, she would end up with some gift that her brother wanted to play with and not with her. But the gift that I would pick out for little Johnny would be a gift that I wanted really, really bad, and I knew he was really, really going to like it. And when we got to the birthday party, it was really tempting for me to open the gift and keep it and play with it. But it wasn't for me, it was for him. Mom didn't buy it for me to play with. Mom bought it for him. Mom let me pick it out. She let me put it in the wrapper. She let me deliver it and go, here's my gift to you. But it was Johnny's gift. When we live our lives for our own self-fulfillment, for our own joy, for our own happiness, we take the gifts that were given to us for someone else, and we keep them. We take what God's given us as a gift, our spouse, our ability to communicate, our ability to love strangers, our ability to serve, our ability to help, our ability to manage finances. All of those things are gifts that God has given us for others. But when we live for our own happiness, when we live for our own fulfillment, our own selfish desires, the people who need, want, and deserve those gifts, they get nothing. Because we rip off the wrapping paper. We tear it out of the box. We take that toy and we play with it until it's all used up or broken. But it's no longer a gift for someone else. If the purpose for you and your spouse or spouse to be isn't clear for you, it'll be real easy for the gifts that you've been given, that your spouse has been given, to not be wrapped up with a pretty bow and given to somebody else, but to use for each other or to be used for your own selfish gain. And the worst part of that is when the gift that you've been given is really there to bless your spouse and magnify what the two of you can do together. And you turn it towards yourself. You open that gift and you keep it for yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't use your gifts for financial gain. I'm not saying you shouldn't use your gifts to build up your purpose. But I am saying that when you're in your greatest purpose, when you're living for what you were made for, when you're doing what you've been called to do, the dash between the birth date and the death date on your tombstone, when you're living that out to its fullest potential, your gifts will be in play. And your gifts will make a way for you. And your gifts and your talents will open doors that you cannot even imagine. But if you're using them just to get through the day, for your own fulfillment, for your own purpose, they're probably going to go very far. One of the things, as I mentioned about the marriage conference this weekend, was that many of the couples weren't focused on, let's have a great event. They weren't even focused on, look at my gifts, look at me shine. While many people did shine in their gifts, and many people did share their own story. We heard example after example of couples who've been through a rough patch, rough decades. I don't mean they had a bad week last week. I mean, there were years where their marriage wasn't where they wanted it to be, where they felt like it might be over at any minute. And even some for whom they had called it quits, but they were able to rekindle and restart. But we heard from Jonah and Bryson Wise, for an example. And they do a Facebook live show called Marriage Mondays. You can check them out. Jonah Wise, I've actually tagged her in this video so that you can find her page and you can go check out her Marriage Monday videos. But they talked about how to restore the passion in your marriage. And she was very transparent about the times that she would just flat out say, for her own purposes, for her own manipulation, for her own pleasure, she would say no to her husband. No, I'm not going to love you like that. No, I'm not going to do it. Lock the bedroom door. Just go on your way. Not going to happen. And there was really no reason for it other than, I don't want to, and I want to be in control. And because I control this, you're not getting this. Go back and watch it. It's on the Transforming Grace TV site. In fact, if you scroll down far enough on my profile, you'll actually find the video because we recorded their presentation. You'll also, if you scroll down far enough, find the video where Karen and I actually shared our story and talked about the importance of communication, both in your marriage and externally, what you as a couple project to the world around you to help others grow their marriage and grow their life. But Sue and Mark Bridgman were the coordinators and the planners of this event. And they never really took the stage. They never really, other than highlights and introductions, they never really took the platform and said, hey, look at us. We're in charge of this. We put all this together. In fact, you wouldn't have known it at all. But they put together an event that wasn't about them. It wasn't even about having a great event. It wasn't about having a big event. It was about a movement of bringing people together whose marriages, whose lives, whose commitment to each other, whose commitment to others was so clear and so obvious that it resonated with everybody in the room. Everyone who attended, whether they were volunteers or they were people who purchased tickets to come, or people who came by invitation, VIP invitation because they were pastors of local churches, and they came and they sat through the seminar and they listened to the conference teachers and they enjoyed dinner and music with us. Everyone was there because they wanted to see marriages strengthened. And most of them walked away with a different way of looking at an event like that. It wasn't just a conference. It wasn't just an event. It wasn't about, let's see how many people we can shove in the room, although it was a great turnout. It wasn't about who's the superstar or the headliner on the stage. It wasn't about that. It was about what can we, as a couple, do for other couples to strengthen their marriage, to build their opportunity. Now, this event will happen again next year, somewhere around Greeley, Colorado. I believe it's a Journey Church that they're working with right now to solidify everything. The dates look like they're going to be in mid-September, so it'll be early fall. Beautiful time to come to Colorado. And I will encourage you to make a plan. If your marriage doesn't have a purpose yet, if you're looking at what is my marriage about, are we fighting with each other just to get by every day? Am I fighting for my needs and he's fighting for his needs, or she's fighting for her needs, and that's all there is to it, that we're trying to get our own space and get our own way and stay in control of our own lives? If that's it, that's got to be boring. It's got to be frustrating. It's got to be aggravating, irritating. But the minute you can turn like the wildebeest and turn back to back, let the enemy have the horns rather than letting the enemy have your back where you can attack on a regular basis. When you can find the purpose that the two of you fight for together rather than fighting against each other, that purpose will elevate the quality of your marriage. That purpose will give you a reason to stay. That purpose will give you a strength to stand. And for those of you who are single, I want to challenge you that in those first few conversations, when you're trying to pick the right him or you're trying to pick the right her, ask that question up front. It's been almost 25 years now since Karen and I met. And I remember on our first date, which really wasn't even a date, we drove 2.5, 3 hours to go to a seminar together. That was the first time we spent any time, just the two of us. We went to a seminar on fear. And yes, even that day, she fell asleep in the car as soon as I started driving. That hasn't changed in 23 years. But even that day, when we sat around dinner, one of the questions that I asked her was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you think you'll be doing? What is it you want to be doing in 5 years? She said, I want to be helping kids recover from bad families. I want to help kids find their hope. I want to see marriages stay together. That was before we were even married. And when she said to me, what is it you want to be doing? I said, I want to travel around the world and write books and speak to people. I want to be like James Dobson. Now, I've long since discovered I'll never be another James Dobson. A, I'm not that good, and B, he's pretty unique. But I am also unique. And if I can be the best me that I can be, there's nothing wrong with me traveling around the world and speaking at conferences and writing books and impacting men and impacting marriages. And that's what we're doing. 23 years later, we're not rich. We're not by any stretch of the imagination famous. We're not all over there, all over the place like that. But we're doing, in small increments, what we knew would be our purpose in life before we came together. We're slowly living out exactly what we were called to do. And God has allowed us to put our marriage together in such a way that we can do it together with greater impact than either one of us could do it alone. So if you're a single and you're sitting down over coffee or you're having that first dinner date, it is not too early to ask the question, what's your plan? Now, we didn't pull it off in 5 years. In fact, in 5-10 years in, we were still struggling just to be married. We didn't do it as fast as we thought we could. But we're doing it. Start now. Ask that question now. On the first date. Before the first date. Before you agree to the first date. What do you think you'll be doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Do you still see me in that picture? Do you have some tentative look at our relationship that has no purpose? Is this all about what might happen behind closed doors on our wedding night? Because if it is, I got better things to do with my life. Is there a chance that we together could be a part of a movement? Not just an event, not just a conference, but a movement to bring hope to relationships? If that's the case, then let's join forces. And if it's not, buy somebody else coffee. That might be a little harsh. No, it's not harsh. It's exactly the decision that you need to make. What is the purpose for your life? And how will that purpose be married together with someone else so that the two can become one, that the two purposes become one purpose, that the dash on your tombstone would be the same dash that's on theirs, that together you become one and serve that purpose that you were made for, that your gifts were like the salt and pepper to their gifts. That's my challenge for you today. This is probably not my last live from the road this week because I've got another video shoot for a client on Wednesday morning early. So I will be on the road somewhere early. I might be in the parking lot at Sonic looking for the wildebeests. You never know. And in 2 weeks, I'll be actually in Branson, Missouri at the Chateau on the Lake for the Gathering of Eagles Conference. It's not too late to get tickets. This is their 50th year celebration. Dr. Mike Brown has been in ministry 50 years. I'll be there at the conference. I'll be there representing Karen and I. She can't get off work to go, but Jesse's going with me. And we'll be taking books and we'll be taking some videos and stuff like that. But we'll also be doing on-the-spot interviews to let everybody else know what's going on at the Gathering of Eagles. We'll be talking about some of the speakers. We'll be talking to some of the speakers. I encourage you, follow with us. We'll be doing the live videos all week as well. But participate in that the best way that you can. And share these videos with people that you think might be impacted. So take a moment right now, as soon as I hit finish, and scroll down on the page, on my profile page, and find Jonah and Bryson Wise. And listen to them talk about what it means to bring passion back to your marriage. It could really, really impact your life. I don't know many people who talk about sex at church, but they did. And they did it well, with class and with dignity, and I think it could really inspire you. I appreciate you taking time to be with me this morning, and I appreciate you giving me a chance to be a part of your life today. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.